It's really just been me in my head the entire time and not having the best thoughts.
Meanwhile,
It's actually snowing up here.
Dempsey and Statler's polar opposite outlook on life was really highlighted in this episode. But even paradise can feel like hell when you have someone constantly whining in your ear. Let's get into it. Hi guys, welcome back to Nikki Faces Reality. We are here to discuss 90 Day Fiance The Other Way, specifically Statler and Dempsey. These two are still on the van life trip that just keeps on giving. And I wish it was giving them happy moments, moments that they'll keep forever. But that's not the case. So we're going to jump straight into it. As always, before we do, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're new here. Yeah, so we catch up with them. We get this B-roll of them, making multiple stops along the way in France. Statler tells us that it's been 2 weeks of just traveling and she took that time off specifically to settle in to van life before she would start work. So the day has arrived for her to begin work and, be the sugar mama that she promised she would be. And of course, the day that she has to start working, she can't get the Wi-Fi to work. And now that I think of it, I don't know how they thought this would be possible given that they keep going to the middle of nowhere. And I know that she was using a hotspot, but I don't know how strong hotspots are. I don't know if they're strong enough to, sustain 2 freaking monitors. I don't know what they were thinking. And of course, it doesn't take Statler much to be irritable, but, when money's on the line, I totally understand why she's frustrated. However, she did have 2 weeks to prepare, didn't she? And backtrack, she had months to prepare for this trip. Right? So she's seated there, she can't get anything to work, and she's like, well, I need the internet, and if there's no internet, there's no job, and if there's no job, there's no money, and if there's no money, goodbye van life. And Dempsey is trying not to absorb this energy. So you see her making breakfast, she's trying to fit things in. Turns out Statler has the wrong adapter. But it seems like whatever she had in place currently would get her through the day, but the problem would be in the future, she needs the right converter, she needs to be able to plug in double monitors, she needs to be able to charge things, so she's freaking out. But you can work throughout the day, we'll figure it out, right? So Dempsey, I don't know how long, Statler has been given this energy, but Dempsey's like, you know what? I'm gonna tap out. And Dempsey kind of disassociates and starts reading. And this infuriates Statler. And Dempsey's like, I have been driving nonstop. I deserve a moment to just unplug. And I agree, driving is exhausting. It's a lot of physical labor. If you want to chill, chill. But I also understand why Statler would be irritable. And Statler is irritable because she's just this is important to the both of us. If I'm the one that's going to be the breadwinner, you need to be able to take this on with me. But then it takes a turn when Statler starts ordering Dempsey around like Dempsey's an assistant. And it was again the delivery of it all. Oh yeah, you need to get me this and get me this and get me that. And Dempsey's like, let me take this time. You can work just as you are for now, and I will go into town and I would get these things. But Statler kept huffing and puffing and she just looked irritable. So Dempsey was like, you know what? I'm gonna go. She goes into town with her bike. You see her go off, and it's hours later. And I'll tell you what she was doing in a second. But Statler is in this van stewing because it's almost like it didn't click in her mind that this was their plan, that she would be working this remote job, and that Dempsey, given the way that she leads her life, wouldn't be working the same hours. So yes, there's going to be times where you are working alone and your partner is on their own. But you can see that in this moment, it hit Statler oh, I actually don't like being the only breadwinner, or I don't like being alone all these hours. And again, I want to feel bad, and I completely understand that your partner should support you emotionally, whatever it is that she needs. But this is her job, right? Why didn't she test the internet the last 2 weeks that they've been on the bus? Why didn't she test out her plugs to see if she had the right ones? Why was this something that is determined the day of and then it's everyone else's problem? So her putting that blame on Dempsey, I'm like, Statler, you can't always be the victim. So I was really happy when they would pan to Dempsey and Dempsey was out here, okay? Dempsey said, you know what? If I have to go into town, I'm gonna take the scenic route. And we saw her get on a trolley. We saw her get up a mountain. She was like enjoying the view. She was like, this has been a dream to come here. And like, say what you want to say about Dempsey. Sure, like I think that she saw an opportunity with Statler. And she was like, you know what? If you want to take care of me, if you want to play house with me, I'm going to take advantage of this. And like, oh, and I know it's controversial. Some people are like, well, Dempsey's a freeloader. I feel like Statler made some promises. Dempsey is holding her to it. Would this be my kind of agreement? Probably not. I would be super salty to know that I have to bust my behind working and my partner doesn't get to work. It can be argued, though, that Dempsey is holding her weight in many different ways. Dempsey is cooking for them. Dempsey is driving them everywhere. Dempsey is running these errands. It all comes down to, for me, delivery and communication. Anyway, for Dempsey, this is the town that she's always wanted to go to. So she's really taking the sights in. And she says, she's like, I'm not going to let Statler's work schedule stop me from living. And she does say that, like, you know, she likes to have the positive outlook on life, but it is exhausting trying to hold it together when Statler is constantly just like draining the joy with her anxiety, with her mood swings. Like, it's a lot. And I just want to call out that there was a moment where Dempsey like went off to town and Statler was like, there goes Dempsey like a fairy, thinking that everything is like fairyland. And I'm like, you chose this person. You begged this person to allow you to move in together. Why do you resent her joy? Isn't her happy-go-lucky outlook the reason that you chose her? And with Dempsey, I have the same thought too. I'm like, I don't know if she's seen Statler to this degree. I don't know if this may be the most time that they've ever spent together. But in the past, we have seen like insight to the fact that Statler is this way. So I question that in Dempsey. I'm like, why would you think that being isolated in a van with this person would be the best thing for your spirit? But they spent hours apart, which is probably for the best. But I think it left them both with just a lot to think about. Because when Dempsey comes in, she looks drained. And again, like if I'm Statler, I would be annoyed because I'm like, girl, you were out here frolicking and I've been working. But I think what we're seeing is Dempsey like emotionally drained. So she's seated there and Statler's with her computer, just like in her van of gloom. And she's like asking Dempsey about her day. And she's like, oh, that's nice. And Dempsey's like not fighting back or anything. She's just like, yeah, like I have, you know, we have to drive to the campsite. Then I have to shower and then prepare because we have a long drive ahead. Apparently, Statler has to work like 30 days straight to make up for the time that she's taken off. That is a lot. And it just makes me think that they really didn't think through the logistics of what this van life would look like, the toll that it would take, because there's also a time difference that she has to account for in her work schedule. Statler is like, yeah, like it's just unfortunate that I'm going to be in all these cities and I can't really explore with Dempsey because I have to be stuck in this van working. So I'm like, why are you doing this? What are you gaining from this? And so Dempsey is seated there. She's answering Statler's questions, but it's so clear that like if she says one more word, she'll break. And that's exactly what happened. Statler clocked that Dempsey was like really down, almost matching her. And Statler like comes over to her and hugs her. And Dempsey just bursts into tears. And she won't answer. And she won't say why she's crying. She's just letting herself be held. And this is the moment where she tells us that like it's hard to be positive all the time. And she doesn't know how long she'll be able to take Statler's gloom. And that must be so hard because I think Dempsey does try to be understanding, but she also doesn't want to lose her essence. And her essence may be a little annoying, right? Like, I understand that it could be hard to feel like you can be yourself with people that are overly positive, but I think that Dempsey makes a lot of space for Statler's mood swings. And I think that after a while, you just want to be with someone that, like, can put their ish aside and be happy for you, and she feels like it's the opposite. Like, she always has to put her happiness aside to make room for whatever crisis Statler has. It's like, what's the crisis of the day, you know? So yeah, so Dempsey's feeling all these feelings, but she's not telling Statler directly. And then we see in Statler's confessional that she's just like, I'm now in my head about Dempsey crying because she's not telling me what's going on. So now I'm thinking the worst. Like, does she want to break up with me? And I feel like, that's a valid question, but there's so many other questions that you could be asking yourself. I think that Statler could ask herself some harder questions, and then she would understand why Dempsey's breaking down in front of her. At this point, I feel like, we know they're not together. We're just seeing basically like the events that are leading to that. And it's really sad because I think that they both want to love each other, but they are so different and are just having a hard time connecting their puzzle pieces. So, whew. So this episode, while nothing explosive happened, I feel like there's just like a lot underneath that eventually will come to the surface. But yeah, that was it for them this episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.